When you think about your future, you know what calls to you. Meaningful work, happiness, growth, and sharing these values with others. But how will you find all of that? There are many paths forward, including one you may not have considered. The military provides countless opportunities to pursue your calling, where you can be part of something bigger than yourself, while still being yourself and having the future you want. You have a calling, we have an answer. Learn more at todaysmilitary.com.
Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and today we're reacting to your 2025 NFL Draft hot takes, whether it's about the San Francisco 49ers or the rest of the first round of this year's NFL Draft. We have so many hot takes to get to. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave that review, and let's talk about what you had to say about this year's NFL Draft. Starting things off with Seth Starosick. He says this: the San Francisco 49ers draft Jihad Campbell inside the top 10, and I don't hate the idea of it, but that last snippet that you said, Seth, inside the top 10. San Francisco picks at 11 this year. Are you indicating that they're going to trade up inside the top 10 for a linebacker? Maybe they view him as a linebacker / blitzing edge rusher. It depends on who and how you view Jihad Campbell. That said, one, I don't see San Francisco trading up for a linebacker of all positions, but Jihad Campbell at 11, although I wouldn't love it, I do think there is a lot to like from a player like Jihad Campbell out of Alabama. 6'3", 235 pounds, just 21 years old, had 112 tackles, 65 defensive stops last year, 20 pressures, 8 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 pass defenses, and 1 interception. Now, there is some drawbacks to Jihad Campbell when it comes to health. He had a shoulder injury last year. It did lead to surgery, which could cost him OTAs and maybe even part of the preseason. So there is some medical red flags, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal when it comes to getting him on the field in year 1. That said, he's a former edge rusher, converted to linebacker in 2023. He's got the size, he's got the speed, and he has a great frame for an NFL linebacker. He can clog passing lanes. He has long arms. He has the length and size you like for an off-ball linebacker next to Fred Warner. He has loose hips. He's excellent in pursuit. And at times, if you want to give Robert Saleh this overall athletic player, he can be an edge rusher, a blitzing linebacker for you, a very versatile defender for Robert Saleh alongside Fred Warner, and almost give San Francisco a high-end athlete in this defense, where if you lose Dre Greenlaw, while Jihad Campbell wouldn't be a one-for-one replacement in day one, there's a lot of promise there for somebody who just kind of converted to linebacker 2 years ago. He's one of the best blitzers in this year's class. He's a bona fide first-round talent with the traits that he has. He has very high potential. He's a steady tackler, only a 9% missed tackle rate last year. But again, like every great player, there is some drawbacks. He does lack some recognition when it comes to zone coverage and play action. He'll get caught in between sometimes, but again, only 21, only playing 2 years at the position. You're hoping that with time, that'll change next to Fred Warner with Robert Saleh. You're hoping that a lot of the small things that maybe you say could be a problem at the NFL level, those things get cleaned up as he gets more reps at the linebacker position. He's tremendous in man coverage, though, so all the knocks on him in zone coverage, great man coverage linebacker. He almost plays like a safety. He can roam around. He can, give you sideline speed on your defense. He does so much for the Alabama defense last year and could do so much for any team that gets him in this year's draft. But one thing you do have to talk about when it comes to Jihad Campbell is the run defense. We know San Francisco really, really needs to stop the run. They were terrible at it last year. There was glaring holes in 2023. One of the big reasons as to why they almost lost games against the Packers and Lions in their playoff run. Jihad Campbell's not going to be a fix for their run defense. He does have problems getting off his blocks, being a block shedder, especially against offensive linemen, which isn't that big of a deal. However, you do want your linebackers to be able to kind of move through the running lanes and kind of fit through narrow lanes and get to the running back and ball carriers and make those tackles either at the line of scrimmage or behind it. Even then, though, that's more of a technique problem, not a strength problem. So the body's right, the length is right, the size is right. The more he plays, the better he should get, or you hope he can get at the NFL level. He also doesn't really diagnose the run very well. So, again, it's all about processing. How do you see things? He will see things that are there, and he'll shoot through a hole, make the play, and you say, wow, what a great player. Other times, he sees things incorrectly. He thinks what he sees is right, runs over there, gets beat in play action. He will lead his running lane and leave somebody open, or just completely misdiagnose a play, the over-aggressive and vacate running lanes. So a lot to like from Jihad Campbell. That said, the idea of trading up for him at inside the top 10, don't love that. Don't think San Francisco wants to do that whatsoever. I think they want to stay put at 11 or maybe trade back in this year's draft unless someone like a blue chipper falls, let's say Mason Graham, Travis Hunter, or Abdul Carter. But I don't see any of those players falling past number 4 or 5 in this year's draft. And Jihad Campbell isn't a player I would trade up for. Although at 11, I still wouldn't make the pick, but I could see somebody saying, hey, we can work with this kid. The Niners made a very strong effort to bring back Dre Greenlaw. I can see them, whether it be day 1 or early on day 2 in round 2, trying to replace him with a player like Jihad Campbell or Chris Pupal, Jeffrey Bassa, Demetrius Knight. So linebacker is a need, although we don't really know just yet how much they value the position outside of the efforts they had to bring back Dre Greenlaw this offseason. Moving on, our number 2 hot take is No Limit Omar in Zalafar said this: the San Francisco 49ers trade up and draft Abdul Carter at pick number 3. Shedeur Sanders goes number 2 to the Cleveland Browns, and the New York Giants draft quarterback Jackson Dart with pick number 11, the pick they got from the 49ers when they traded back. So let's dissect this. Starting with pick number 2, the Cleveland Browns drafting Shedeur Sanders. I don't think it happens in round 1, or at least inside the top 5. I don't think Shedeur is a first-round talent. I don't think any team really values him as a first-round talent. You may see a team try to get aggressive. The Giants, the Browns trade back up into this year's first round to go get him in the 20s and maybe the late teens. That said, if Shedeur Sanders does go number 2, that means Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter are on the board at number 3. Now, I don't think San Francisco really wants to trade the 11th overall pick, probably a first-round pick next year. And if you're the Giants, you have leverage saying, hey, it ain't just Carter, it's also arguably and probably the best overall talent in this year's draft, Travis Hunter, at pick number 3, still available. Give us your entire draft class. He's a two-way player. He's going to be a superstar. He can play receiver. He can play cornerback, and is the best player at both of those positions in this year's draft. The Giants would say, give us 11, give us a 1 next year, give us a 1 in 2 years. You would see a near Trey Lance trade package to go get pick number 3 if Travis Hunter is still on the board at pick number 3. But let's just talk about Abdul Carter. He's awesome. He's a blue chipper. There's so much to love from Carter. He is far and away an A-plus tier talent. This year's bona fide number 1 edge rusher. If there's any chance Abdul Carter falls to 5, which I think could happen, although I think number 4 is kind of that sweet spot for him and the Patriots. If he falls, maybe San Francisco makes a call here or there, but trading up to 3 would be way too rich, although you'd love a player like Abdul Carter on your defense across from Nick Bosa. So I'm going to sell on this. However, the Browns getting Sanders and Jackson Dart going to the Giants, I think could happen, although I think you may see a team like the Los Angeles Rams target a quarterback late in this year's first round. They like Stafford, but one-year deals each of the past couple years. He's getting older, been hurt a couple times. The Rams are a sneaky pick for a quarterback, so if Sanders falls to the 20s, if Dart falls to the 20s, which I would suspect they both do, just watch out for the Rams. I don't think the Saints go quarterback, but I am selling on this, Omar and Zalfar. It's not going to happen. But I do want to move to Mac Aspedis. He has the next hot take saying this: the Niners trade up to 4 with the Patriots for Abdul Carter. Now, this makes a little more sense with the knowledge that Cam Ward goes number 1. Travis Hunter's probably going number 2. I'm assuming in this case, Mason Graham goes number 3 to the Giants. That would give them Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Mason Graham. Give Brian Dable a vaunted front 4 on their defense. Go attack quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Dak Prescott and company out there in the NFC East. Dropping Abdul Carter to the Patriots. Now, I think if Abdul Carter is on the board at number 4, the Patriots are running, sprinting, jumping, diving their way to the podium. They want Abdul Carter. They want to draft Abdul Carter. If they can get their franchise quarterback last year in Drake May and get a game-changing defensive end player, a premier edge rusher in this year's draft, you now have the building blocks for I don't want to say dynasty, but a contender in the near future. You went and got Harold Landry. You improved your defense in free agency. You have Mike Vrabel, a brand new head coach. He's going to value the defensive side of the football. I think if Abdul Carter's there at 4, I don't even think the Patriots pick up the phone. I think they want him. That said, if the Patriots somehow value, let's say, Ted McMillan, go get Drake May, number 1 receiver, and Carter falls to 5 to the Jaguars, maybe a deal gets done. They're a new regime in Jacksonville, probably won some more picks, although a winnable division. The Texans are still a great team, but they do have some holes. They have no receivers, basically, with Tank Dell being hurt, Diggs gone. You like Collins a lot, but they need some help. Their offensive line was terrible last year, so the Texans do have some major holes. The Colts don't even know who their quarterback is. They want Tyler Warren or a tight end. So, again, the Jaguars are kind of in that group of near NFC South Division contenders, but new regime, new head coach, new GM, they could want to trade back, maybe get a player like Jihad Campbell at 11 if you are the Jaguars, opening up a door for San Francisco at pick 5. But at pick 4, I don't think there's any chance San Francisco gets Abdul Carter with the trade with the Patriots. Moving on to our next hot take, and it is by one of the best names I've seen on social media because it's called Crispy. Crispy says this. I love that name. It's funny to me. Crispy says, and this is a great hot take, probably more of a reason as to why I like the name itself, because it's not just a hot take. It is a fresh out of the oven, call the fire department, get the fire extinguisher, the house is on fire, the roof's on fire, the neighborhood is going down in flames, because Crispy says this: Travis Hunter, wide receiver / cornerback / blue chip superstar from Colorado, pulls an Eli Manning and says, I'm not going to the Titans, the Browns, the Giants, the Patriots, the Jaguars, the Raiders, the Panthers, the Saints, or the Bears. I want to be a San Francisco 49er. And when I say, wow, if there is a God in heaven on this Good Friday nearing Easter weekend, if this happens, what in the world is going on? I think there are some reports, or there was some video evidence of last couple of years of Travis Hunter saying he wanted to be a 49er, and Obviously, when you're going to be a top, 5 pick, money comes into play, fit comes into play, but Travis Hunter pulling an Eli Manning and refusing to go to the first 10 teams in this year's draft would be insane. I love the hot take. This is why we do this on the inaugural episode of the NFL Draft Hot Takes that I hope, if it's successful, can carry our way through the 2025 NFL season for the San Francisco 49ers. But I love this take. I think it's awesome. Is it going to happen? No, it's not going to happen whatsoever. But in the case that it did, San Francisco would instantly gain trade leverage over any team if he said, that being Travis Hunter, I'm not playing for any of your top 10 teams. I want to go to San Francisco. You're going to have teams be like, okay, what can we get for a trade? And San Francisco's going to say, we'll give you 11, and that's kind of it. He didn't want to play for you. You can still get your player at 11, but you're probably going to see other players like McMillan and Warren and Campbell. You may see a Jahdae Barron go and Ashton Genty go. You may see one of those guys, Walter Nolan, Mike Green, guys who are probably going to be inside that 11 to 20-ish range, go earlier if this happens. But this is a hot take. It's not going to happen, but oh my goodness, the NFL world will be on fire. They would stop the draft clock. They'd pause the draft. This would change, not the landscape, but it would change the entirety of the first round for the NFL, which has already been one of the more unpredictable first rounds in recent years. The quarterbacks aren't great this year, and you can argue that from pick 8 all the way to pick 25, almost every single player is somewhat interchangeable based on scheme, fit, regime, and many other factors. So this would be awesome. It would be incredible, but crispy. That's a crispy hot take. It's not going to happen, but I like where your head's at, and I hope we get more takes like this in the future. Moving on to a rather tamer hot take via Luke Rayleigh or Raleigh. Hopefully I get your name right. They say, we will draft cornerback Will Johnson out of Michigan at pick number 11, and this has been a pick we've seen over and over again in many mock drafts. Mel Kiper, I think CBS Sports had some. Daniel Jeremiah had some. I don't get it. I don't understand this overwhelming need to overvalue the loss of Travarius Ward. Great player, great person, loved him here. I wish nothing but the best for his family and the trauma they went through this past year. Get healthy, get your minds right. It's all love for a player like Travarius Ward. That said, San Francisco literally prepared to lose him last year by drafting Renardo Green. The literal pro comp for Renardo Green was Charvarius Ward. So the idea that they're going to draft Will Johnson simply because, or even a cornerback in general, simply because they lost Charvarius Ward, I don't buy it. I don't like it. I don't understand the logic behind it, knowing you have no edge rushers. You have Samo, and you got Nick Bosa. You kind of like Yetur Gross-Matos, but there are rumors he was going to be a cut candidate, so you're not really committed to him past this year as well, so you got to get an edge rusher. You have literally no starting caliber defensive tackles. Got to get one of those. Many people out there say you got to get a tackle. You have to get Will Campbell, Josh Simmons, Kelvin Banks, Josh Connerly, any other star tackle you can get to either replace Colton McKivitz after this year or be the heir apparent to Trent Williams. Cornerback is like the 5th round for me. Kobe Bryant, Jacob Parrish on day 2. Like, there's plenty of other talented cornerbacks you can get, and I think San Francisco's overwhelmingly told us that day 2 and more likely day 3 is their day for a cornerback, not Will Johnson. But to kind of hone in on Will Johnson for a second, because Will Johnson is a really good player. He just has some glaring red flags that is probably going to drop him, or at least in the minds of pundits and maybe some teams are going to make them leery of drafting him inside or maybe just outside the top 10. So He's 6'2", 200 pounds, a junior, really good player. That said, was hurt a lot last year in 2024. There are glimpses of him being just incredible instinctual cornerback where he can make plays that flip games on their head and you say, oh my gosh, Will Johnson at times, there are glimpses he has a little better play than Travis Hunter, who's going to go number 2 in this year's draft. But then there's other things where it's like the long speed's a question, didn't run a 40 time, you've had hip injuries, you've had shoulder injuries. There's just so many things where you say, I'm not truly sure about what Will Johnson can be at the NFL level. And if you're already slow and your long speed's a question and you have a hip issue, well, that likely means it's going to continue throughout your NFL career, could shorten your career, and can make you never truly reach the potential at the number 11th overall pick. And if that's the case this year, the second cornerback on or off the board in this year's draft. I like that he has tenacity. He plays through contact. If he can keep the game in front of him, he can be a shutdown cornerback. But if plays get behind him, there's serious concern as to, okay, you don't have the long speed to keep up with, say, Tyreek Hill or some of the NFL's faster receivers. I would be concerned about Devontae Adams, Micah Wilson from the Cardinals, Marvin Harrison Jr., and plenty other faster, tougher, bigger receivers that you just know Will Johnson may match with them from a size and weight category, but when it comes to speed, there are real concerns about him, or at least concerns that need to be proven he can hang with the NFL receivers. He's a zone coverage corner, which may lead San Francisco to lean his way. I can see that happening. He's a good tackler, and I think that that separates him from most guys in this year's class as a cornerback, but there's no need there. It doesn't make sense for me, and I am a no on cornerback in the first round for the San Francisco 49ers. But before we continue, I want to let you guys know, if you go to SeatGeek.com and with your first purchase, you go get your tickets. Green means good, red means bad. I've used it plenty of time. When you go to check out for an MLB game this year, the Giants are on a hot streak currently. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. If you want to go to a concert this spring or summer, get your tickets. And on your first purchase, use promo code 49ersaccess, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com, and you can save yourself $20 off your first purchase. I live in Southern California, whether it's Dodger games, Padres games, Charger games, Ram games, or any concert my wife wants to go to. We are on SeatGeek, making all new accounts every single time and saving ourselves $20 off each purchase. But back to the hot takes, because we have, I think, one of the more unique hot takes, and I really appreciate the outside of the box thinking. Roman Sargis says this: the San Francisco 49ers draft Ohio State edge rusher JT Tuimoloau in round 1 simply because we like being different. And I'm going to be honest with you, Roman, you're not too far off in that last portion there. The Niners like to zig when other teams zag, and sometimes it works, and you appreciate it, and you go, wow, what a great idea, what a great pick. How did they find XYZ player? Other times you get Drake Jackson, you get Joe Williams, you get Trey Lance, and you say, this is catastrophic. You traded up for who? You took who? And things don't work that well for them. But although I don't think it'll happen in round 1, I think San Francisco needs to value the high-end traits. There's a reason why you don't hear players like Landon Jackson to San Francisco in round 1. There's a reason as to why you don't hear JT Tuimoloau going to anybody in round number 1. The high-end traits, the athletic ability, the high-end potential really isn't there for players like that. They are high floor with medium potential. They can be bona fide number 2s on your defensive line, but they don't have the number 1 traits. There's a reason as to why you hear players like Shamar Stewart, Mike Green, Michael Williams, and players like that because they have the athletic ability, they're freak athletes, they have the good RAS scores, and they have production at the collegiate level to make you believe they can be really good players at the NFL level. But I think, and funny enough, we haven't talked about Tuimoloau since our first mock draft because I love everything JT Tuimoloau brings to the table for Ohio State and what he could bring to the San Francisco 49ers this season if he is a second-round pick. So whether it's Walter Nolan on day one, Derek Harmon on day one, even Michael Williams from Georgia on day one, or even Shamar Stewart, really, like, you take a high-end guy that has some variables they don't really love, or even a Mike Green who has some red flags, I don't mind you taking JT Tuimoloau, 6'4", 270 pounds, a 77.5 pass rush grade, an 87.5 run defense grade last year for Ohio State, 47 pressures, 14 sacks, an 11.8 pass rush win rate, and over 1,300 snaps played at OSU just 1 year ago. He's a player that's overall boring, not going to be this flashy, high-end athlete, but he does all the little things right. Think about Leonard Floyd, right, where it's a lot of effort sacks, it's a lot of chasing guys down when other guys are tired, or he may not get in the backfield all the time, but when he does, it is a relentless effort to get back there. He'll clean up plays. He's a consistent pass rusher with heavy hands, and he's also very proven, played against some of the top-tier tackles in the Big Ten and in the college football playoffs. He is the epitome of a reliable defender as an edge rusher. He's got power. He's got size. He has the makeup of a 10-year NFL veteran ready to go. That guy lasted that long. He's been uber consistent, probably plays for about 2 to 3 teams, but just lasts forever, and probably finds himself being in the playoffs year after year after year, and kind of reminds me of a Pittsburgh Steeler kind of player where you're like, whoa, this guy is just the epitome of old-fashioned, hard-nosed, high-effort, not a big athlete, but the way he plays, you want to have on your team. He's going to be competitive. And I think the mentality at the goal line is what separates him from other players in this year's class, where you have the high-end athletes. Tuimoloau says, look, at the goal line, you're not getting through me, you're not getting by me, you're not getting past me. It's almost like he sees red when the opposing offense gets inside the red zone. He's a run stuffer. He is not a game wrecker, but he's a game changer with how consistent he can be at the goal line and throughout the rest of his snaps. He'll beat up and wear down the opposing offensive lineman, where late in games, that's when he'll start winning more and more because he's so consistent. Each rep, he gives 110%, a very high floor player. But in round one, Roman, it's going to be a no. But in round two, if they go defensive tackle or they go a more, kind of high-end project player, Shamar Stewart, wink, wink there in round one, Michael Williams, wink, wink there in round one, I can see Tuimoloau being on their radar and give the San Francisco 49ers to Ohio State Buckeyes, kind of bookending their defensive end group and their defensive line. Moving on to the next one of the more befuddling, I hate this hot takes, that is from Dr. P49. They say the San Francisco 49ers do exactly what they did last year and draft a wide receiver in round number 1. I would hate this completely. I don't want to do this at all. If San Francisco does do this, they will get flamed. There will be a riot. There will be blood flowing in the streets, because if you go Pearsall last year, Ayuk a couple years ago off the injury now, he just traded away Deebo Samuel, and this being one of the, I don't want to say worst receiver classes in recent years, but it's not up there with last year's class, 2023's class, or even 2022's class. They just don't have the number one guy. They don't have Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors. They don't have guys like that. Marvin Harrison Jr. that can just change the game. Whereas last year's class, it was like 5 or 6 guys deep. Brian Thomas Jr. didn't go to the 20s. Lab McConkey went in round 2. So This year's class just does not scream, got to get that guy. Where you can see Matthew Golden, Luther Burden, and McMillan all dropping outside of the top 15 and say, yeah, that makes sense. None of those guys are really true game changers for me. And I don't think San Francisco really views any of these receivers as one a need, because San Francisco really dictated and kind of pigeonholed themselves with how they handled the offseason, where you have Ayuk, you have Pearsall, you signed Demarcus Robinson, who you like a lot, as your kind of number 2, number 3 receiver, while Ayuk gets healthy. You have Cowing, a lot of guys you like. You'll love Pearsall, obviously, and you hope Jennings can carry the load for you as probably your number 1 receiver, number 2 guy coming into the year while BA gets healthy. But they have holes everywhere on the defensive line, and receiver, although really isn't a stronghold for them, it's a higher floor, lower ceiling room until Ayuk gets back. And even if you wanted to say, well, they're going to trade Ayuk next offseason, they're going to get some picks for him, San Francisco doesn't have the option to draft a receiver in round 1, where last year would have made some sense. Next year may make some sense. But this year, knowing who's currently on the board, you can find a competitive player on day 2, on day 3. There's guys late in this year's draft that aren't going to be game changers for you, but Arkansas's Andrew Armstrong, Isaac Tesla. You can go look at receivers, Jalen Knoll from Iowa State. Like, there's a real non-consensus as to how good the receiver class is, where it's like McMillan, Burden, Golden, Higgins, all those guys at some point in time could be considered receiver 1 through 2. And I haven't even talked about Travis Hunter yet, who is he a receiver? Is he a cornerback? It depends on how the team views him. So again, receiver makes no sense here. If San Francisco does this, get your pitchforks out. We are going to walk to Levi Stadium from Southern California and pick it outside of the John Lynch's office, because it would be an utter mistake. Knowing the holes they have, they got to fix their defense. There's a reason you bring back Saleh. So no receivers, please, in round 1. Early on day 3, do it. I'm cool with that. Maybe you want to go on day 2, Jack Beck, Jalen Knoll. You sell me on that, although I wouldn't love Jack Beck. I can see that. Maybe a Harold Fannin Jr. tight end on day 2. Maybe a Gunnar Helm tight end on day 2. But receiver round 1, take your flaming hot take and get it out of here, P49. And moving along to Brody Dunning, kind of reverting back to the cornerback conversation, because they say the Niners draft Jahdae Barron at pick number 11. And I'll tell you this, between the first-round cornerbacks, Travis Hunter, Will Johnson, Jahdae Barron, Johnson and Barron are probably going to be there still, albeit the Saints could take Will Johnson at pick, number 9 this year. Jahdae Barron is one of the players that I am quietly worried that San Francisco may take. I don't think they'll do it, but he does fit what they want to do. I can see him going to the Rams. I can see him falling to kind of more that cover 3 defensive scheme that teams run nowadays. He's not a bad player by any means, and actually first-round talent, a good player, 5'11", 200 pounds, redshirt senior, a 91.5 zone coverage grade, a 69.1 man coverage grade, 10 forced incompletions, 5 interceptions, and 83.3 run defense grade. So a lot of things to like. He can play safety, slot, outside cornerback. He's a zone coverage cornerback, not a man coverage cornerback, as detailed by his PFF grades. That said, there's, to me, a lot more downside that has nothing to do with physical tools and injuries compared to Will Johnson. Because to me, I am really concerned for Jahdae Barron playing outside cornerback. He's uncomfortable with his back to the ball, only has 1 year as an outside cornerback. He can panic and get grabby sometimes. He kind of has slower hips. I don't love his kind of projection to be an outside cornerback at the NFL level. You get him on an island in man coverage, and it's like, well, watch out. This could be a disaster for you. So there's certainly things to dislike from Jahdae Barron, but again, good in run defense. He has good ball skills. The technique in spacing is off the charts. Really good there. He's a high IQ player. He has good enough power to make it through his block and make tackles. So again, a lot to like, but from the San Francisco 49ers kind of aspect, cornerback isn't the need. And is he a slot cornerback? The slower hips there worry me. And I don't think it's valuable to move Green or Lenore inside, I guess at a more continual basis. You want to have that versatility. You brought in Trey Brown for a reason. So I don't hate Jahdae Barron, but at 11, we're starting, we're talking about, again, going down to Levi's and saying, fire John Lynch. What are you doing? So I wouldn't love that, and I wouldn't want to do that. But we are back to our spicy hot takes where the house is on fire again, where you're just like, oh my God, who poured water into the oil on the skillet? Like, that's not how you put out, your oven fires and your stove fires. My goodness, what were you thinking, right? This is, you put your hand, your mom tells you, okay, honey, the stove's hot. Don't put your hand there. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm smarter than her. And you go, oh my God, my hand hurts. I'm burning my fingers. This is a hot take of epic proportions, and funny enough, aligns with what we did in yesterday's epically random, insane PFF mock draft, where we took Ashton Jeanty in round 1. He fell to us at 11. We said, F it, let's get McCaffrey and Ashton Jeanty, ground and pound, thunder and lightning. Forget the whole Brock Purdy can't carry us. We got 2 guys that can in the backfield. And Manuel Loves Maria says this: the San Francisco 49ers go running back in the first round. And I'll tell you this, this is one of the deeper running back classes, maybe ever. There's about 8, maybe 10 guys, depending on your scheme, that could probably start for you on day 1. Kind of filtered throughout each round this year. You're talking about day 1 guys, day 2 guys, day 3 guys. I'm higher on players like Kyle Monangai on day 3, Khalil Mullings from Michigan on day 3. I am like in love with DJ Giddens from Kansas State on day 2, probably in round 3. I think he fits this scheme to a T. He is, I guess you can say, if last year was me kind of putting my pole in the ground saying, here's my flag, I am an Isaac Guerendo truther back probably in March and February, I'm a DJ Giddens truther from Kansas State. I think he fits what they want to do. I don't love Jadon Blue. I don't love Bashal Tootin. Vision problems, fumbling problems, keep them off the team. But on round 1, Genty's not going to be there. But if you want to get into the Marion Hampton conversation, you want to get into the Travion Henderson conversation, Quinshon Judkins, will he be there for you? Do you like him a lot? They're not going to do this. However, Manuel Loves Maria. The Niners have to get a running back. You have Guerendo. You like him a lot. He kind of gives you that receiving threat, but also has speed, can be a good running back for you. I think he doesn't have the vision you love, but it's progressing over time with more reps at the NFL level. Obviously, you love CMC, but both those guys have pretty serious injury history. Guerendo has never, ever, ever been able to stay healthy for a full year, whether it's college or the NFL, in his rookie season last year. And Christian McCaffrey, getting older, inching closer to 30 as the years progress, but really serious injuries last year to his lower body. That's a major concern. You hope he can hold up for a full year. I think there is going to have to be somewhat of a role change for him in the offense. Utilize him more as a slot receiver with Ayuk being out and no more Deebo Samuel. I can see them wanting to get a running back to carry a heavier load for them this year. And I don't want to say a 3-man rotation because CMC just overall refuses to come out of games, and Bobby Turner is not one to say, okay, CMC, you're out. He'll leave him out there and ride the hot hand. But I think there is a real chance they say Jordan Mason got traded. We weren't going to pay him that money. Got a draft pick next year. We got to find a day 2 running back. First round, no. It'd be a wildly overvalued pick for San Francisco. But DJ Giddens, fingers crossed on day 2 for San Francisco from Kansas State. If you don't know him, look him up. He's awesome. He's an incredible back and fits the scheme to a T. The next hot take is Devin Thomas says this: the San Francisco 49ers trade out of the first round and acquire a first-round pick next year and an extra day 2 pick, second-round pick this year. So the Niners trading back out of the first round would mean you're probably looking at a team like the Giants, the Browns, not taking a quarterback with their first picks, which seems pretty likely at this point. And they're going to trade up in a big way. So you get probably in a really early day 2 pick, get a first round pick next year, which I think if you changed this to San Francisco trades back in the first round to say pick 20, 22, 19, 14 to the Colts and nets another day 2 pick, you'd love that. I don't think it's likely though, Devin. And I don't think San Francisco is really in a place to trade back all the way out of the first round, because if you're a team like the Browns or the Giants wanting that quarterback, you got to give up a first-round pick next year, probably 2 first-round draft picks, or at least a first-round pick, a day 2 pick this year, if not 2 day 2 picks this year, and a day 2 pick next year. So whatever team is doing so likely thinks they're going to be rebuilding or wanting to find that quarterback. I don't think the Giants are a team that, with the situation they have with Dable and their GM kind of fighting for their lives out there, they brought in Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston's there. I don't think the Giants are really in a place to trade back up for a running back. I think the Browns would do it, but I would look out for the Kirk Cousins release trade. That may come down with Kevin Stefanski, former Vikings head coach, OC. Now Kirk Cousins may get released with the Falcons. I can see that happening. So there's a lot of variables here. I don't see this happening, though, whatsoever, albeit if you can trade back to 19, 20 with the Broncos and Sean Payton, they want to get aggressive, sign me up, get an extra day 2 pick and fill more holes. I would love that for this team, but this hot take, particularly trading back out of the first round entirely, it's not going to happen for San Francisco, but I wouldn't mind that if you can get a haul this year and next year with Lynch, Saleh, and Shanahan, is filling this roster with defensive talent for years to come. The next hot take is via Niners Media, and they say a non-Niner related hot take. I love these. They say the Titans take Cam Ward at number 1 overall. Not too hot of a take, but then he says they trade back into the first round to acquire wide receiver from Arizona, Tedero McMillan. This would probably be in the case where McMillan falls past Dallas at 12, likely gets past the Cardinals at, 16? And you want to get ahead of teams, let's say like the Chargers at 22, ahead of the Broncos at 20. So you're probably in that 17 to 19 range. That's what the Bengals, the Seahawks, and the Buccaneers. I can see the Bengals wanting to trade back, albeit they probably also want to get an edge rusher, which this class has a lot of questions. But again, if you're the Titans, you're picking at what? Pick 33, pick 34 this year on day 2. So the Bengals could probably get a Landon Jackson, a JT Tuimoloau maybe on day 2. I can see that happening. The Buccaneers, I think they'd probably stay put. They usually don't make draft day trades. Seattle's a wild card here. I don't really know what Seattle wants to do. They got to get the guard situation figured out. They have a quarterback now with Sam Darnold. DK Metcalf got traded. Do they want to get Luther Burden? Do they want to get Gray Zabel? I don't know. So I can see this happening for sure. Maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers trade back. Who knows? Maybe Aaron Rodgers finally says yes, making their draft day a lot easier for them. But I can 1,000% see it happening if McMillan falls past 16 of the Arizona Cardinals. And moving along to Always Open 22, they say, again, another non-Niner related hot take. They say the Browns trade back into the first round and draft Shedeur Sanders. So kind of already hit on this when it comes to the Browns quarterback situation. I think the Browns truly want to draft Travis Hunter and then find a way to acquire Shedeur Sanders, whether it is via trade up or it is sitting pat and hopefully he falls to them in front of the Giants. I'm looking towards more of the late 20s. I think the Washington Commanders are open for business. I think at pick, 29? They got Debo, Laramie Tunsil in this year's offseason, so I can see them wanting to move back, gain some more picks. They don't have many of them on day 2 and 3, so I can see them being open for trades. In fact, I've traded up with the 49ers and the Commanders in my mock drafts in previous episodes, but I can see it happening wholeheartedly. I do think that if the Giants or the Saints or the Steelers take Shedeur Sanders, or even the Rams take Shedeur Sanders in the 20s, that to me then screams get Kirk Cousins in Cleveland immediately, because I don't think Shedeur, if he walks into New York, becomes QB1. In fact, I think he may be quarterback 3 on day 1 behind Russ, behind Jameis. So do you really want quarterback 3 being, I don't want to say a distraction for you, but I think if the Giants, you're more prone to take Jackson Dart, more of that sit back, watch Russ, watch Jameis grow for a year, then kind of give him the reins, compared to Shedeur, who I think probably needs to play in year 1. The Browns, I think, need a quarterback. Joe Flacco's there. Keep your head on right. Get Travis Hunter. Get Shedeur Sanders. Get Joe Flacco in the same room together. You can see a quarterback with very similar traits of an older Joe Flacco, albeit more athletic, obviously. I think you'd maybe find success there. If you don't reach for him, I'd love that, but the Browns have been aggressive in previous drafts, previous offseasons, so you just signed Myles Garrett to a massive deal. You draft Travis Hunter, and Myles Garrett said, I love the plan. I have a pretty good idea the plan is Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders probably in this year's draft for Cleveland, but clearly we'll see what happens on Thursday night of next week. But before we get to our last hot take of the episode, I want to let you guys know, if you love energy drinks, you want a coffee alternative, and you want to perform like the GOAT himself, Jerry Rice, you got to get yourself a can of GOAT Fuel. Click our link down below. You can save yourself 10% off your purchase by using that link. Get a discount and get to me the best energy drink on the open market. It's better than Monster, better than Rockstar, better to me. I'm not an energy drink guy, but if you gave me a choice, I'm picking GOAT Fuel day in, day out. It tastes good, makes you feel good, and I'm not going to lie to you, at times, I feel like I'm growing some goat horns and I'm turning into a goat myself, because I am lapping that stuff up and it makes me feel like $1,000,000. So get yourself a can of GOAT Fuel using our link down below and help the show out in the process. Okay, our final hot take of today's episode comes way of Chachitas on Instagram. I love this hot take, albeit I don't think it's too hot. I think it actually, at least the first part, may be what happens in round 1 for the San Francisco 49ers. Chachita says this: the Niners draft Mykel Williams or Mike Green in the first round at pick number 11. Then they trade back up for Ole Miss defensive tackle Walter Nolan. And when I tell you, if this happened, I would cry and I would praise the Lord on this near Easter Sunday and say, you have risen, my friend. We are in business with our defense once again. Now, I am someone that has talked plenty about the red flags Mike Green has. I think there is a lot of mixed reporting because, Yes. Anytime you are accused of something along the lines of assault, we take it serious. Initially it was, you're off my draft board, but the more I've heard about it, the more I've learned about it. He wasn't questioned by police. It has not gone further, so it leaves some lingering questions, some issues, but if San Francisco can clear those, Mike Green is far and away the number 2 edge rusher in this year's class. But I am more prone to believing that they like Mykel Williams from Georgia as the edge rusher at pick number 11. I think he makes the most sense for them from their own perspective. Now, would I do that? Probably not, but if this is, what they would do kind of mock draft, I think that makes the most sense in the world for them. I think San Francisco wants the higher-end athlete, a guy you can put out there who can be a good run defender, a guy that you could trust to grow and learn the position as time goes. He's 6'5", 265 pounds, had a 70.6 pass rush grade last year and an 82.9, nearly an 83 run defense grade, 30 pressures, 6 sacks, and 11.6 pass rush grade. And some of the stats here, you can argue he played through an ankle injury, so they could have been better at Georgia last year. He has incredible arm length to fill run lanes, to stop, quarterbacks that are mobile on the outside of the pocket, 34 and 3/8 inch arms, violent player, one of the best run defending edge players in this year's draft. Excellent anchor, can diagnose plays very well. Again, the pass rush productivity really isn't there, and there is no promise it clicks at the NFL level, but the way Georgia used him was really confusing because he was playing on the edge, but you can argue maybe he should be playing interior defensive line. Again, 6'5", 265 pounds. There's questions as to his usage rate at Georgia. What actually is he at the NFL level? Can he lose some weight? Can he kind of change his body fat percentage, get his body right, his density? Because, again, great run defender, but he kind of, the way he plays projects to be an inside player, but if you want him as an edge rusher, he has to learn the pass rushing plays. There are times that, he wants to grow. He has shown signs of the desire to grow as an edge rusher, but again, you have to work with him. Chris Kosaric and company have to get the pass rushing plan in place for him because he has the strength, he has the length, he has the size to be a dominant, powerful force. The power is there. The bull rush is there, but I just think that he doesn't really have the bend you like, so I can see it happening, certainly on day one. If you get Mykel Williams on day one, you can pair him with your more bendy edge rushers on day two. More of your, if you want to go for kind of the boring player, give you the higher floor, lower upside, go JT Tuimoloau. But if you want to go, Jordan Birch on day two, kind of give you the inside-outside versatility, you can go Princely Umemalin from Ole Miss. He'll give you that more bendy player, isn't as lengthy, but again, has more of that bend to him. You can go players like, again, Jordan Birch, maybe a Jod Joyner, a bigger player, and Ashton Gilletti from Louisville, who's smaller, but you like David Walker, Central Arkansas, guys like that who are more bendy, athletic, compared to Mykel Williams. But the hotter take in this is that San Francisco trades back up for a player like Walter Nolan. Now, Walter Nolan to me is one of the more, how do I put this, polarizing defensive players in this year's draft because he is far and away the most traitsy defensive tackle in this year's class, where you look at him and you say, there is Jonathan Allen. There is high-end, top-of-the-line, defensive line traits as a pass rusher, and there's things you can work with as a run defender because there are times smaller guy, lighter weight, he'll get pushed around sometimes, but again, there's so many great traits. He's bendy, he's athletic, he has the quick hands, he has the pass rushing plan. So I am someone that would not be afraid to take Walter Nolan at 11. However, if you can get Walter Nolan later on day one, pick 2022, traded back up in the first round, again, and going back to how polarizing he is, you see some mock drafts, he's picked number 8. He's picked number 11. He's often mocked to San Francisco. Sometimes he's picked number 10 to the Bears. Right? Other times he's picked 18. He's picked 19. He's picked 29. So it's really confusing as to how the NFL views him compared to pundits or these mock draft simulators, because nobody really knows where he'll go. All they know is high upside, but maybe there is some lower floor to a player like Walter Nolan. I would love this if it happened. I would not mind trading away a day 2 pick, or trading away a future day 2 pick. If it was pick 43 and pick, I don't know, a later first round pick this year, so let's say it's pick 22, 29 with the Commanders, I wouldn't mind, giving up pick 43 and next year's second for a player like Walter Nolan. But again, you don't really know how this first round is going to play out. So I would love that. That said, I don't think it's going to happen. I think San Francisco stays put at 11 and likely takes a player that we all say, I can see why, but I would have liked somebody else. That to me is what's going to happen. And I feel like that's going to be a lot of the takeaways from this year's draft class for almost every single team outside of the top 4. I can see what you like, but I would have liked Nolan, I would have liked Green, or I would have liked Johnny Barron or Will Johnson better than them. So it'll be a rather polarizing day 1 of the NFL draft, but I hoped you loved the first edition of NFL Hot Takes. I enjoyed getting your feedback. I enjoyed reacting to what you guys had to say. It's fun. I love doing this stuff, and I hope you guys come back for hopefully the next edition of the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave that 5-star review on the audio podcasting platforms. You can also follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the X, or Twitter. 49ers.access is the Instagram. Use that promo code 49ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com to save yourself $20 off your first purchase, and get yourself a can of goat fuel down below and save yourself 10% off your purchase of a case with our link in the description. My name is Sterling Bennett. We are less than 7 days away from day 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft. I cannot wait to react with it with you live on 95.7 The Game, and hopefully here on this very YouTube channel. But again, like, share, subscribe, leave that review, and as always, my name is Sterling Bennett, and stay faithful.